Imagine a world where people feared a vegetable. Not just avoided it, but believed it was dangerous, poisonous, even cursed. That's exactly what happened in medieval Europe when the potato first arrived. Today, we see the potato as a basic, harmless food, but in the 16th and 17th centuries, it was feared, rejected, and even blamed for disease and madness. So why were medieval people so afraid of the potato? And how did this strange, underground crop end up changing the course of European history? Let's dive into this forgotten chapter of the past, and discover how a root vegetable shook an entire continent. The arrival of the potato in Europe. The potato didn't originate in Europe. It was first cultivated over 7,000 years ago in the Andes Mountains of South America, particularly in areas that are now part of Peru and Bolivia. The indigenous people of those regions had already developed hundreds of varieties of potatoes. They knew how to grow them, store them, and use them as food, medicine, and even in rituals. But when Spanish conquistadors began exploring the Americas in the 1500s, they brought back many exotic goods to Europe, including gold, silver, tobacco, chili peppers, tomatoes, and of course, potatoes. At first, the potato was nothing more than a botanical curiosity, something strange to be studied or displayed in gardens. No one considered it food. Fear, suspicion, and superstition. In medieval Europe, daily life was deeply influenced by religion, folklore, and limited scientific knowledge. When the potato first appeared, people didn't understand it, and that made them afraid. Here's why. It wasn't in the Bible. During the Middle Ages, people believed that all useful plants had been mentioned in the Bible. Since potatoes weren't, some assumed they were unnatural, or even satanic. It grew underground. Unlike wheat or fruits that grow in the sun, potatoes grow beneath the soil, hidden from sight. This made them seem suspicious, dirty, even evil to some medieval minds. It looked ugly and strange. Compared to golden grains or colorful fruits, the potato looked like a rock, rough, brown, and unattractive. Its appearance didn't inspire trust. It was associated with disease. In some parts of Europe, people blamed the potato for causing leprosy, a serious and mysterious disease at the time. Others believed eating potatoes could cause madness, hallucinations, or even death. It had poisonous parts. The potato plant is part of the nightshade family, a group of plants that includes many toxic species. While the tuber, the part we eat, is safe, the leaves, stems, and green potatoes do contain a chemical called solanine, which is poisonous in large amounts. This added fuel to the fear. In fact, some towns passed laws banning the planting of potatoes. Others refused to allow them to be sold in markets. In France, farmers who grew potatoes were accused of witchcraft. In Russia, religious authorities claimed potatoes were devil's apples. In Germany, peasants revolted against being forced to plant them. Changing times. Famine, war, and food shortage. So what changed? The answer is simple: hunger. Europe in the 17th and 18th centuries faced multiple famines, wars, and crop failures. Traditional food crops like wheat and rye were failing. People were starving. Desperation forced societies to re-evaluate the potato. It was easy to grow even in poor soil. It could survive cold climates and didn't need fancy farming tools. It grew underground, making it harder for invaders or soldiers to destroy during wartime. And most importantly, it could feed entire families from a small plot of land. In places like Ireland, Scotland, Poland, and parts of Germany, potatoes became a lifeline. By the late 1700s, countries were encouraging, even forcing, people to plant them. One famous example is Antoine Augustin Parmentier, a French pharmacist and scientist who campaigned for the widespread adoption of potatoes in France. To convince people they were safe, he held banquets where potatoes were served in every dish, even dessert. King Frederick the Great of Prussia ordered peasants to grow potatoes and even planted them on royal lands to set an example. By the 19th century, the potato had become a staple food across Europe. Its effects were revolutionary. Population growth. The potato provided more calories per acre than any other European crop at the time. This led to explosive population growth, especially in countries like Ireland, which became heavily dependent on it. Urbanization and industrialization. As populations grew and cities expanded, cheap and plentiful food like potatoes fueled the labor force behind the Industrial Revolution. Military strength. Soldiers were better fed. Nations could supply large armies more efficiently. Economic shifts. Small farmers could sustain themselves and their families without needing large fields or expensive equipment. But this dependence also had risks. The Irish potato famine of the 1840s, caused by a fungal disease called late blight, showed what could happen when a population relied too heavily on a single crop. Over 1 million people died, and another 1 million were forced to emigrate. Even so, the long-term impact of the potato remained positive. It had turned from a feared, forbidden plant, into one of the most important crops in world history. So the next time you eat a French fry or mashed potatoes, remember this: you're not just eating food. You're tasting the story of fear, superstition, survival, and revolution. A simple underground vegetable once feared as the devil's root, ended up feeding kings, saving nations, and shaping the modern world. History isn't always about swords and battles. Sometimes, it's about what's growing quietly beneath your feet. If you found this story fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more strange and surprising history. Comment below, what's a modern food you think might have a strange story behind it? Would you like a shorter version too, or a timed breakdown for editing purposes? Beneath the soil, hidden from sight. This made them seem suspicious, dirty, even evil to some medieval minds. It looked ugly and strange. Compared to golden grains or colorful fruits, the potato looked like a rock, rough, brown, and unattractive. Its appearance didn't inspire trust. It was associated with disease. In some parts of Europe, people blamed the potato for causing leprosy, a serious and mysterious disease at the time. Others believed eating potatoes could cause madness, hallucinations, or even death. No one considered it food. Fear, suspicion, and superstition. In medieval Europe, daily life was deeply influenced by religion, folklore, and limited scientific knowledge. When the potato first appeared, people didn't understand it, and that made them afraid. Here's why. It wasn't in the Bible. During the Middle Ages, people believed that all useful plants had been mentioned in the Bible. Since potatoes weren't, some assumed they were unnatural, or even satanic. It grew underground. Unlike wheat or fruits that grow in the sun, potatoes grow beneath